Dark clouds rolled across the night sky over Earth's capital city. The world had not known fear like this for centuries. Yet tonight, every screen on the planet was lit with the same message, a voice from far, far away, a desperate plea that had broken the silence of the stars. It had arrived 3 days ago. A soft, trembling voice carried across space on strange frequencies. Scientists had worked for hours to clean the signal, removing static and distortions. What remained was a simple sentence, filled with fear and pain. "Please, help us. They are killing everyone." People across Earth had frozen when they heard it. Children stopped playing. Parents stood in shock. Leaders stared at each other with heavy hearts. It was not just a message, it was a scream for survival. In the main command center, the room was tense. General Harper, a tall man with steel-gray hair, leaned over the communication console. "Run it again," he ordered quietly. The technician replayed the signal. The words echoed through the chamber, soft but powerful, desperate and pleading. The general clenched his fists. "This isn't just a call for help. This is the last breath of a dying world." Beside him, Dr. Mia Carter, a leading astrophysicist, spoke softly. "We traced the source. It came from a colony on the edge of the Orion Belt, a small settlement. We know almost nothing about them, except they were attacked by an unknown force." The general looked up, his face grim. Unknown or unwilling to show themselves. Mia hesitated. "Sir, the last part of the message, it wasn't just words. There were sounds, screams, explosions. It was chaos. Whoever sent this may already be gone." At that moment, the large screen flickered, showing the few surviving images sent with the transmission. Cities burned under dark skies. Small alien figures ran, terrified, while ships rained fire from above. The footage cut off abruptly, as if the world itself had been swallowed by darkness. No one in the room spoke. The silence was heavy, filled with anger, fear, and a growing sense of guilt. The entire planet had heard the message. The networks replayed it endlessly, sparking debates and protests. Some said humanity should stay out of it. Others screamed for justice. But one thing was certain: the cry had reached every heart on Earth. Late that night, General Harper stood on the balcony outside the command center, staring up at the stars. He spoke quietly to Mia, who had followed him out. "Do you believe it's real?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, whoever they were, they believed someone out there would listen. And we did." Harper's eyes hardened. "Then we can't ignore it. Not if we're human."
The next morning, the United Earth Council gathered. Leaders from every nation sat in a circular chamber, tension thick in the air. Screens displayed the message over and over, each word cutting deeper into their souls. An ambassador spoke first. "We cannot fight a war we know nothing about," he argued. "This could be a trap." Another leader slammed his fist on the table. "And if it's not, do we sit here safe and sound while innocent beings are slaughtered? We once swore we would never allow another tragedy to go unanswered." Murmurs filled the chamber. Arguments rose and fell. But all the while, that desperate voice played in the background. "Please, help us." Far from the council chambers, in the streets of every major city, people gathered. They lit candles, they cried, they demanded action. Social feeds overflowed with one message: we must help. Later that evening, Harper entered the council room once more. "I have served this planet for 30 years, and I've learned one thing. Mercy is a choice, but so is silence. If we stay silent now, we're no better than those who sent that scream into the void. I say we go. We find out who did this, and if they think they can murder entire worlds, they're wrong." The council fell silent. Slowly, one by one, the leaders nodded. That night, as darkness covered the planet, orders were given, ships were prepared, fleets were armed, humanity's greatest forces gathered for a mission that was not about power, or wealth, or conquest. It was about one thing, a promise that no cry for mercy would ever be ignored again. But even as preparations began, the unknown threat was moving. Far beyond Earth's reach, in the endless black of space, ships with cruel designs drifted silently, their weapons stained with the destruction of countless worlds. And deep within their dark command center, a chilling voice spoke in a language of hate. "The humans have heard it. Let them come. We will make their skies burn as well." Back on Earth, unaware of the storm building ahead, a little girl stood on a rooftop, staring at the stars. She whispered softly, as if to the lost souls far away, "We're coming. We heard you. We won't let you die alone." The world did not sleep that night. The message replayed endlessly, haunting every heart. It was more than a cry for help. It was a warning, and humanity was about to answer, not with words, but with fire.
Dawn broke over Earth's capital city, but the sun brought no comfort. The entire planet was restless. The desperate plea from the unknown world had shaken humanity to its core. Now everyone waited for what would come next. General Harper walked into the command center, his boots echoing against the metal floor. The room smelled of tension, fear, and determination. Large screens displayed new data gathered from distant probes sent toward the source of the signal. Dr. Mia Carter was already there, eyes fixed on the glowing maps. "We got something," she said as Harper approached. "The probes picked up energy readings, massive destruction. The colony isn't just damaged, it's almost completely gone." Harper frowned. "Any survivors?" "We don't know yet, but there's evidence that some structures were deliberately destroyed, not by war, but by extermination. Whoever did this wasn't just conquering, they were erasing lives." The general's jaw tightened. "Monsters," he muttered. He turned to the communications officer. "Patch me through to the council." Moments later, the chamber filled with the faces of Earth's leaders. Harper spoke with a low, firm voice. "We've confirmed mass slaughter on a scale humanity has never seen. We don't know who did this, but they wanted to wipe that colony from existence. I don't think they'll stop there." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. One councilwoman asked, "Do you believe they'll come for us?" Mia spoke before Harper could answer. "If they're capable of this, and if they see new life as disposable, then no world is safe. Not theirs, not ours." The council chamber grew silent. Everyone knew what had to be done, but fear made their decisions heavy. Finally, the chairman spoke. "We send a fleet. We find out who they are, what they want, and if they're still out there, we make sure they can't hurt anyone again." Far away, in a deep space war room, enemy ships hovered over the remains of the alien colony. Their dark commander surveyed the ruins with satisfaction. "The message was sent?" he asked in a guttural tone. "Yes, High One, the humans heard it. They're preparing their fleets." The commander smiled cruelly. "Good. Let them come. Let them bring their rage. We will crush it, and their home will be next." Back on Earth, Harper addressed his fleet commanders. "We're not just fighting for strangers. We're fighting for every innocent life across the stars. Remember that." He looked each soldier in the eye, his voice steady. This isn't war. This is mercy. As the first ships prepared for launch, millions across Earth gathered to watch. Children held hands with parents, old veterans saluted the sky, and somewhere in the vastness of space, a faint signal still cried for help. No one knew if they were already too late, but humanity had made its choice. The stars would soon witness their fury.
The Earth fleet launched into the blackness of space, leaving their home world glowing softly behind them. The tension aboard every ship was like a living thing, heavy in every breath. Soldiers whispered quietly, engineers checked weapons, and pilots stared into the void, knowing they might not return. General Harper stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, staring at the holographic star maps. Dr. Mia Carter entered, holding a data pad. Long-range scans picked up movement, she said, her voice low but urgent. We might have found them. Harper's eyes narrowed. Are they coming toward us? Mia hesitated. No, they're heading straight for Earth, but their path takes them near a neutral system first. We can intercept. The general nodded. Then that's where we'll make our stand. We'll show them humanity doesn't run. Hours later, the fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a quiet star system. It should have been peaceful. Instead, the silence felt wrong, almost alive. Then, out of the darkness, shapes began to appear, sleek, menacing warships, far larger than humanity had expected. Contacts confirmed, a young officer said, fear in his voice. They know we're here. Suddenly, a message came through on an open channel. The voice was deep, distorted, filled with malice. Humans. We heard your outrage. We heard your vow to protect the weak. You will learn what mercy truly means when your own world burns. The crew went silent, staring at Harper. The general stepped forward, his voice calm but dangerous. This is General Harper of the United Earth Fleet. You slaughter innocents and send threats like cowards. This ends now. The enemy ship did not reply. Instead, a sudden flash lit up the void as enemy weapons roared to life, streaking toward the human fleet. The first battle had begun. Explosions rattled the lead vessel as enemy fire struck shields. Humanity's weapons answered back, bright lances of energy cutting through the darkness. But the enemy was faster, stronger, and ruthless. One human frigate was torn apart in a single blast. We're outgunned, Mia shouted over the alarms. We need a new plan or we'll lose everything before we even reach the colony. Harper gritted his teeth. No retreat. Not today. We draw their fire. Buy time for the others to flank them. He turned to his crew. We fight, not for victory, for every cry they silenced. And as the battle raged on, far across the stars, another faint transmission crackled through space. A weak, trembling voice said, Earth, help us. They're coming back. Please. It wasn't over. The true enemy force hadn't even arrived yet.
The battlefield burned in silence as debris floated in space, the wreckage of human and enemy ships drifting endlessly. The first clash had been brutal, but humanity had survived, barely. On the bridge of the lead vessel, alarms faded as damage reports poured in. General Harper stood tall despite the chaos, his face hardened with fury. "How many did we lose?" he asked quietly. "3 ships destroyed, sir. Hundreds dead, more injured." Dr. Mia Carter's hand shook as she scrolled through the data. "Their weapons. They were designed to kill quickly, without mercy. This isn't war, Harper. It's extermination." The general looked out into the void where enemy ships had fled. "Then we'll give them something they've never faced before, a fight they cannot win." Moments later, Harper entered the War Council chamber aboard the flagship. Holograms of fleet commanders flickered around him. "We can't match their firepower," he said firmly, "but we have something they don't, our will to protect the innocent, and we have technology they haven't seen yet." He turned to Mia, who nodded and activated a projection of a new weapon prototype. "The Thunder Lance, a focused energy weapon capable of piercing even their strongest shields. It's risky, untested in full-scale combat, but it's our best chance." The room buzzed with cautious hope. Harper's voice cut through it. "We arm every ship with it. We strike back hard and make them understand. Humanity doesn't kneel, and we don't forgive slaughter." Far across the system, enemy commanders watched the human fleet regroup. Their leader, the High One, hissed with amusement. "They survived. Interesting. Let them come again. We'll break their courage, piece by piece." Back on the human flagship, Harper stood before his crew. Today they thought they could erase life without consequence. They thought fear would make us run. But we are done running. His eyes burned with determination. From this moment, every star they hide under, every shadow they crawl through, will know humanity's rage. The sky itself will fall on them. Cheers erupted across the comms. The fleet was wounded, but not defeated. With new weapons and unbreakable resolve, they prepared for the next confrontation. But deep in the darkness, sensors detected something horrifying. Another enemy armada was on its way, twice as large as the first. Humanity's war for mercy had only just begun. The engines of the human fleet roared to life, tearing across the darkness of space. Earth grew smaller behind them, a blue jewel in the endless void. Every soldier, every pilot, every engineer aboard those ships knew the truth. They might never see home again. But no one turned back. Humanity had made a promise, and they would keep it, even if it cost their lives. General Harper walked through the main hangar of the flagship, stopping to speak with his troops. Some were checking weapons, others quietly staring at old photographs of families left behind. Harper's voice carried through the silence. "I know what we face is terrifying," he said, his tone strong but heavy. "But fear isn't weakness. It's proof that what we fight for matters. We're not just going to stop a war. We're going to stop monsters. And every innocent life they've tried to erase will be avenged." Dr. Mia Carter stood on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. She whispered to herself, "Whoever sent that plea, I hope they're still alive to see we're coming." Her hands tightened around the rail. The sound of the cry for mercy still haunted her, a ghost that refused to fade. Hours later, the fleet entered a dead system near the ruins of another alien colony. Silence filled the comms as the ships drifted through floating wreckage. Whole cities had been torn apart, their remains frozen in the vacuum of space. Children's toys floated among shattered homes. The sight hardened every human heart. "This wasn't war," Harper said over the comms, his voice low with fury. "This was slaughter. We're not stopping until they can never do this again." Suddenly, a weak signal came through on one of the side channels. "Help! Anyone?" It was an alien voice, faint, desperate, barely clinging to life. Mia rushed to triangulate the source. "It's coming from a nearby asteroid field. There's a survivor." Without hesitation, Harper gave the order. "Set course, full speed, no one gets left behind." The fleet dove into the asteroid field, dodging massive rocks spinning in silence. A small escape pod came into view, battered and barely functional. Inside was a lone alien child, eyes wide with terror. The crew worked frantically to pull the pod aboard. As the child was carried to safety, it whispered one phrase over and over, trembling in fear. "They're coming back! They're coming back!" Harper knelt beside the child. "We won't let them hurt you again, I promise." But even as he said the words, long-range sensors picked up movement. Enemy ships were closing in fast, hunting for any survivors they had missed. The fleet had saved one innocent life, but now they were trapped in enemy territory, surrounded and outnumbered. The war for mercy was about to turn into a desperate fight for survival. The asteroid field trembled with distant rumblings as enemy ships closed in. Red alerts blared across every human vessel, filling the air with a sense of urgency and dread. The fleet had rescued one innocent life, but now their own survival hung by a thread. General Harper stood on the command deck, eyes fixed on the tactical map. "How many ships?" he demanded. "At least 20, sir, heavily armed, faster than our cruisers." Dr. Mia Carter looked up from her console, fear mixing with determination. "If they pin us here, we won't have a chance to escape. We need to hit them hard first." Harper's gaze hardened. "We're done running." He opened a comms channel to the fleet. "This is it. We fight for every life they've taken, every world they've burned. We fight so that their darkness doesn't spread one light year further." The first wave of enemy ships broke through the asteroid field, weapons blazing. Beams of scorching energy sliced past human vessels, barely missing their hulls. The fleet responded with everything they had, missiles streaking through space, lasers lighting up the void. But it wasn't enough. A frigate on the outer edge took a direct hit, erupting in a silent fireball. Another was crippled, drifting helplessly into the rocks. Panic threatened to take hold, but Harper's voice cut through the chaos. "Focus fire on their lead ship! Break their formation!" Then Mia shouted over the alarms. "Thunder Lance is ready! We only have one shot before it overheats!" Harper didn't hesitate. "Target their command vessel! Fire!" A blinding spear of energy shot from the flagship, cutting through the darkness like a wrathful star. It slammed into the enemy's largest ship, tearing it in half with a violent explosion that shook the asteroid field. For the first time, the enemy faltered. Their perfect, merciless formation broke. Humanity pressed the advantage, swarming their disoriented foes, pushing back with every ounce of fury they had. When the battle finally ended, half the human fleet was damaged, many lives lost, but the enemy was destroyed, for now. On the bridge, silence hung heavy. Harper looked at his crew, their faces tired but burning with resolve. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. "We've shown them humanity won't bow. Next time, they'll learn what it means when we say, 'The sky itself will fall.'" Far away, hidden deep in enemy territory, the High One received news of the defeat. His eyes burned with hate. "Good. Let them taste small victories. It will make their final screams all the sweeter." The war was far from over, and the worst was yet to come. The wreckage of the recent battle drifted silently behind the human fleet as they made their way towards safer space. But peace was not on anyone's mind. The cries of the rescued alien child haunted every corridor, a chilling reminder of what they were fighting for. In the medical bay, Mia sat beside the small survivor, who stared blankly at the ceiling. "You're safe now," she whispered gently. But the child shook its head, eyes wide with terror. "No one is safe," it said in a trembling voice. They don't stop until everything is gone." Later, in the war room, Mia played a fragment of data recovered from the child's pod. Holograms flickered to life, showing grim images of a vast alien city under attack. Enemy ships bombarded not military bases, but homes, schools, hospitals, anything alive. And then a voice, cold and commanding, spoke in the enemy's tongue. The translation chilled everyone in the room. "Exterminate. Leave no seed behind. No species shall rise against us." Harper slammed his fist against the table. "This isn't war. This is genocide. They don't fight for power. They fight to erase entire civilizations." Mia's face went pale. "And they've done it before. The data shows dozens of other destroyed worlds. This isn't the first time. We're just the first to hear a plea for help in time." A heavy silence fell. The weight of the enemy's true purpose crushed any lingering hope that peace was possible. Harper finally broke the quiet. "Then we're not just saving one species, we're stopping a plague that's been killing galaxies. If we fail, they'll come for Earth eventually." Just as he spoke, alarms blared. A coded enemy transmission had been intercepted. The High One himself was speaking. "Let the humans rage. Let them dream of victory. When the time comes, their sun will burn, and their skies will turn to ash." The fleet's officers exchanged grim looks. The enemy wasn't just aware of them, they had already marked Earth for destruction. Harper looked around the room, his voice low but resolute. "Now we know what they are. We know what they've done. There's no turning back. We fight not just for the ones who cried out for mercy, but for every world that never had the chance to. We will stop them, or we'll die trying." Far across the stars, in the heart of enemy territory, the High One watched the intercepted images of human survivors and sneered. "Let them believe they can change the tide. Soon they'll learn what it means to defy us." The war was no longer about revenge. It was about survival for every living soul in the galaxy. The human fleet sailed through the dark expanse, battered yet unbroken. The rescued alien child remained silent most of the time, but one thing it had said stayed in Harper's mind. "They don't stop until everything is gone." The truth had already been revealed. The enemy was pure annihilation. Now humanity had to act before more lives were erased. In the War Council chamber, a new transmission played. A faint signal, heavily distorted, came from deep within enemy-controlled space. A different voice, weak, gasping for breath, spoke in the alien tongue. The translation appeared on screen. "Prisoners, alive, command ship. Help, please." Mia leaned forward, eyes wide. "There are survivors. The enemy took captives. Maybe even the one who sent the first plea for mercy." Harper clenched his fists. "Then we go in. We rescue them, and we end this once and for all." The plan was risky, almost suicidal. The enemy's command ship was located at the center of their vast fleet, surrounded by countless warships. But the intel offered a chance to strike at the very heart of the genocidal empire, and perhaps free those who had first called for help. A special task force was formed. Elite soldiers, skilled pilots, and a handful of engineers who knew how to sabotage enemy technology. Mia insisted on going. "We need someone who understands their systems. If we fail, they'll kill every last prisoner." As the fleet prepared, Harper addressed his people. "We've seen what they do. We know what's at stake. We're not just fighting for Earth or one colony. We're fighting for life itself. Tomorrow, we strike their heart. Tomorrow, the galaxy learns that humanity answers every cry for mercy." The following day, under the cover of asteroid shadows, a small squadron of ships slipped through enemy defenses. They infiltrated the command vessel's hangar, guns drawn, every heartbeat pounding in their ears. Inside, the air was heavy with fear and the stench of death. Cells lined the corridors, filled with terrified prisoners from many different species, all malnourished and beaten. Whispers of hope spread as they saw humans charging in to free them. But deep in the core of the ship, the High One's voice echoed through the loudspeakers. "Ah, the saviors of the weak have come. Foolish creatures, you cannot stop what has already begun." Explosions rocked the ship as enemy reinforcements closed in. The humans fought fiercely, freeing as many captives as they could. Finally, in a heavily guarded chamber, they found a small figure, the source of the original cry for help. Barely alive, clutching a blood-stained transmitter, they looked up with tears in their eyes. "Earth, you came." Harper lifted the survivor gently. "We heard you, and we won't stop until they can never hurt anyone again." But as alarms screamed and the ship began to self-destruct, a chilling message came over the comms. "The High One knows where Earth is. Your home is already marked for fire." The human fleet gathered in grim silence after the daring rescue mission. They had saved prisoners and recovered the one who first cried for help, but the enemy's final threat echoed through every heart. Earth was next. General Harper stood before the fleet, his face carved from stone. "We've seen their true nature. We've seen what they do to innocent worlds, and now they dare to threaten our home. No more waiting, no more hiding. We take the fight to them, and we end this war. Today, the sky will fall on them." The plan was simple and brutal. Humanity would strike the heart of the enemy empire with every ship they had left. The fleet had been battered, losses heavy, but rage fueled them now. Across every vessel, soldiers prepared for what could be their final battle. Dr. Mia Carter watched the stars drift by from the observation deck. "If we fail," she whispered to Harper, "there won't be anyone left to tell our story." Harper's voice was quiet but unyielding. "Then we won't fail. Not while innocent voices are still out there begging for mercy. We'll give them more than hope. We'll give them justice." When the fleet arrived at the enemy's homeworld, an armada awaited them, vast and terrifying. Countless warships formed a wall of steel and fire. The High One's voice thundered across the comms. "Welcome, humans. Watch as your fury burns out like a dying star." Harper stood tall, eyes blazing. "No," he said. "Watch as your reign of terror ends today." He raised his hand and gave the order. "All ships, unleash everything." The void erupted in fire. Humanity's fleet charged forward, their new weapons blazing with devastating force. Thunder lances ripped through enemy lines, missiles carved fiery trails across the darkness, and brave pilots sacrificed themselves to break the enemy's defenses. Enemy ships shattered under the relentless onslaught, but the battle was far from easy. The High One's forces fought with monstrous cruelty, turning space into a graveyard of wreckage and flame. Yet humanity refused to stop. The memory of every slaughtered world fueled their wrath. Finally, the command ship came into view, the High One's throne of destruction. Harper's voice thundered through the fleet. "For every cry they silenced, for every child they hunted, this ends now." All firepower converged on the massive vessel. Its shields buckled under the relentless assault. Explosions tore across its hull until, at last, the enemy's flagship erupted in a blinding burst of light, fragments scattering like dying stars. The galaxy fell silent. The fleet floated among the ruins of an empire that had spread terror for centuries. Humanity had struck with everything they had, and the universe would never forget the day their fury burned brighter than the enemy's darkness. But amid the wreckage, one final transmission crackled to life, a chilling whisper that froze every heart. "We are not the only ones. Others will come. The war for mercy has just begun." The battlefield lay quiet, floating in the vast darkness of space. The enemy's empire was shattered, their flagship obliterated, but the echoes of war still lingered. Human ships drifted among the wreckage, some damaged, some barely holding together, yet they remained, alive, defiant, victorious. On the bridge of the flagship, General Harper stared at the stars in silence. Around him, his crew worked with weary hands, tending to the wounded and scanning for any remaining threats. Mia approached slowly, a faint smile of relief on her face. "It's over, for now." Harper shook his head. "No, that last message, there are others out there. Others just like them, maybe worse. This was only the first battle of a war we never asked for." The rescued alien survivor stepped forward, weak but determined. "Because of you, many live who would have died," they said softly. "Your people heard our cry when no one else would. You gave us hope. That matters more than you know." Harper looked around the bridge at his exhausted but unbroken crew. "Maybe that's why we're out here. Not just to fight, but to remind every living being that mercy still exists in this universe, and if anyone tries to destroy it, humanity will stand in their way." The fleet set a course for home, carrying survivors from many worlds and the weight of all they had seen. Earth awaited them, a beacon in the dark, unaware of how close it had come to sharing the fate of the slaughtered colonies. As the stars streaked past, Mia whispered to Harper, "Do you think peace is even possible after all this?" He didn't answer immediately. His gaze stayed fixed on the endless horizon of space. Finally he said, "Maybe not, but as long as there are voices crying out for help, we'll be there to answer." And far beyond human reach, in the cold darkness of another galaxy, unseen eyes watched their journey home. A new voice whispered in the void, filled with hatred and promise. "The humans have awakened. Their fury is dangerous. We will rise, and their sky will fall in turn." The war for mercy was far from over. It had only just begun.